iconic leader in India. And for those of you that know India for the IT revolution, it is popularly said that of every 4 IT experts in the world, there's one from India. And for every 4 IT experts in India, there's one from his state. Although the population of his state his state is only 4% of India's population and 25% of the IT experts. So thank you for your leadership and championship, sir. We're going to hear from you something very outstanding that you are doing in your province to completely change the future of your state, your country, and hopefully the world. So thank you for being here today. We have with us His Excellency Mr. Luhut Panjaitan, the Coordinating Minister of Maritime Affairs for the Republic of Indonesia. He is someone who I have known for a long time and had the privilege of working with. The Tropical Landscapes Finance Facility, which is now successfully operational in Indonesia, started thanks to his belief and faith in taking risks and willing to step out of the comfort zones that you normally see governments resort to, because if you don't take risk, it's always less problems, especially if you're a politician. So thank you, sir, for your leadership, because what you did in Indonesia, we have learned, we have improvised, and we have taken that to India, where we are working with the Honorable Chief Minister, and the first investment in sustainable development in India, in that state, will be $2.3 billion. And thank you for that, because it wouldn't have started without you. So thank you so much. We have with us Her Excellency Lina Paul, the Minister of Environment from El Salvador. Minister Paul is a champion in every possible way I can describe, but more importantly, she's the driving force now behind the decade of ecosystem restoration that is now making waves, and different countries, different continents are now idea, and we hope the project, or I wouldn't call it a project because it is a system scale transformation that is happening in Andhra Pradesh, could be a flagship as part of that 10 years of ecosystem restoration, because this is restoring an entire state of 55 million people. So thank you, Minister Paul, for being here and your championship. And last but not the least, we have a very, very significant Africa, Minister Vincent Biruta from the Republic of Rwanda. And as my friend Eric often says, that the cleanest place on the earth is Rwanda. Maybe they get a little bit of competition from Japan. So competitions in Rwanda, there's so much to learn, and I'm so delighted that the champions we have on the podium today are all from the global south. So it's a brilliant example of South-South cooperation and champions from the south helping each other, learning from each other. So thank you so much. On to my right, we have Eric Solheim, he needs no introduction. The head of UN Environment, and more importantly, from my perspective, as the person that was leading the work on sustainable finance in partnership with the World Agroforestry Center, BNP Paribas, is that we would not have been where we are today without Eric's championship and support. So thank you, Eric, for that. Thank you so much. We are unfortunately missing Fumjile, the Executive Director of UN Women, because the timing of our event changed, so unfortunately she had to miss out on it last minute. But we are, she's Lamarek, who's actually someone who's been working for being there and being here now. Thank you so much. We also have a great environmental champion, someone who also is someone who I admire so much personally, Pawan Sukhdev, the president of the board of WWF International. And we have Olga Algairova, who's the Executive Under Secretary General and Executive Secretary for the Economic Commission for Europe. And Olga's either in terms of learning or in terms of sharing. There's much to happen in Europe. So we look forward to working with the Commission in Europe in a much stronger way in driving this whole sustainable landscapes and ecosystem restoration agenda forward. You will also be hearing from our friends in the front row, BNP Paribas, Laurence, IDH, the CEO is here, Joost Oorthuizen, ICRAF, the Director General, Tony Simons is here, from the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and the Chief Economist of the UN, Assistant Secretary General Elliot Harris is here, the Executive Secretary of the Conference on Biodiversity, the Convention on Biodiversity is here, Ruth, who's the Executive Director of the Global Alliance for the Future of Food is here. So you'll be hearing from a lot of champions. Unfortunately, podium space is limited, so please forgive me for putting you in the front row, but I understand that the UN is very technology savvy, so everybody will be able to see you on the screen as you speak. So without much ado, let me start by just providing a little bit of a background to what is happening now. We know that globally more than 1 billion people depend on nature for their livelihoods, and everybody depends on nature for their livelihoods, but at least 1 billion directly are dependent on nature for their livelihoods. And it is also recognized widely that public funding on its own will not be sufficient to tackle some of the most defining challenges the planet is facing, which is simultaneously producing more food while stimulating economic growth and jobs at the same time as reducing deforestation and tackling climate change. It's quite a complex equation. But there are solutions, as we are seeing it already at scale, and we have a host of champions here today who will be sharing their experiences and also providing their insights as to how we could do better. In the interest of time, I will stop there and start with Eric Solheim as the host of today's event to preface the event and his vision for sustainable landscapes. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Satya, and it's hard for me to explain how happy I am attending this event, because this is truly inspirational. It's exactly what we want to do, to provide the partnerships which can transform the world. Look at this. Number one, this is partnership. I think everyone understands that there is no way government alone or business alone or indeed a state like Andhra Pradesh alone can transform the world. Only through partnerships we can have huge success in all our the big issues of the day. And this is the state of Andhra Pradesh. It's the government of India. It's BNP Paribas, one of the biggest banks in Europe, maybe the biggest. It's other investors and also more and more the companies who can market the products coming from Andhra Pradesh. And it's UN Environment and indeed other UN entities. And I may have forgotten others, that this is really partnership. And partnership is the way forward. All of us are too small alone. Together in partnership we can achieve a lot. Secondly, this is about leadership. And I really cannot pay enough tribute to you, Chief Minister Naidu. You are a true leader. I mean, for those of you who are not really well into Indian politics, but Chief Minister Naidu was in the past the Chief Minister of the combined state of what is today Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. He made the capital of that, Hyderabad, the #1 IT destination of India, bringing any number of companies there. Now is the Chief Minister of State of Andhra Pradesh after the divorce of the two states. but with the aim of making Andhra Pradesh the prime business destination in the world, the aim of transforming the transport in the state into electrical mobility, the aim of being renewable, and in the midst of all this, constructing a completely new capital for the new state. So this is truly inspirational leadership. But there are other leaders here as well, some of them very good friends of mine. Pak Luhut, a fantastic minister from Indonesia who's coordinating oceans but has set Indonesia out to fight plastic pollution and many other issues. Lina Paul from El Salvador taking the lead on making this decade for landscapes and ecosystem restoration. And of course Vincent Peruta, my good friend from Rwanda, one of the most amazing countries. Look to what Rwanda has achieved after the absolute horrendous genocide in 1994, making this one of the prime business destination, most rapid economic development in Africa, and on top of that, maybe the cleanest place in the world. So, yes, while we celebrate Indian leadership here, there is also much wider leadership. Adding to all this, this is about innovation. Let be never in doubt, this is not about taking agriculture back to the kind of the old days when, yes, it may have been environment friendly, but where it produced hardly anything. This is taking agriculture innovatively into a future where, yes, you use less fertilizer and, yes, less insecticides and less inputs of all sorts, but you produce more through scientific way of organizing the agriculture. So it's innovation and science, but based on an environment-friendly future. So if people tell you this is going back, no, this is really rapidly going forward. State of Andhra Pradesh was the state driving the first green revolution in India with Punjab. I think you can be proud of that. There was environment issues coming from the first green revolution, but it was also a huge social uplifting of people who simply got more into their stomachs. Now we are spearheading the second green revolution in the same innovative manner. This is also, which is critical, this is also scale. I'm quite often speaking to Indian ministers, and sorry to tell all of you who have small, tiny, nice projects, they're not really interested. Very rare that an Indian minister is interested in a pilot project. Why is that? Because the scale of 1.3 billion people, soon to be the most populous nation in the world, is so big that the interest is on what's at scale. Prime Minister Modi could very recently celebrate the fact that every single village in India is connected to the grid. Andhra Pradesh did that long before the average of India, but that's scale. Providing toilet to all Indians, that's scale. And of course, what is at stake here in Andhra Pradesh is really scale. 375,000 farmers are already into this. Haven't counted the number of farmers in my nation, but I think it's less than 100,000. So just the start in Andhra Pradesh is many times the number of farmers in Norway. It will be 500,000 this year, and it will end up at 6 million farmers, which is, of course, huge scale. That's much more difficult than having a few small programs or pilot projects. So the scale of this is astonishing. But when you make this successful, of course, it will be taken to others. The neighboring state of Karnataka is already on the verge of starting, and other states of India will do it, and for sure many other parts of the world. So when this is successful in Andhra Pradesh, it's a fantastic story to tell to the world, which the state will tell. Finally, this is about triple wins. I'm not aware of any prime minister, president in the world, or indeed any chief minister in the world who was elected just to protect the environment. If you can tell me that person, I would be happy to embrace that person, but I'm not aware of anyone. Every political leader in the world needs jobs, economic development, protection of the social issues of the people, and environment. And that's exactly what this is, triple win. Producing more so that the farmers of Andhra Pradesh are better fed and get a better economic income, better life, taking care of the health and the social issues of people, because with less fertilizer and less chemicals, the health of the farmers will benefit. And adding to that, this is a fantastic favor to Mother Earth. So this is really, Chief Minister, triple win. Good for the economy, good for the health, good for environment at the same time. So I hope I tried to convey to you how inspired I am. I think you all will be as inspired when you see this, and I'm sure the Chief Minister Naidu will welcome you to Andhra Pradesh to see with your own eyes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for those inspiring comments, which so well articulate the transformative work that is going on in India, Indonesia, Latin America, and Africa, which we'll be hearing more of very soon. May I now invite Yannick Glemarek to offer his comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Satya. Good evening, everybody. Based on existing development trends, we are not to achieve gender equality before the second half of the 22nd century. And a gender unequal world will also be an unsustainable world. We are not to achieve, to protect biodiversity, we are not to address climate change if we are still a gender unequal world. The UN Women was established 7 years ago to try to act as a smart catalyst to break these development trends and try to accelerate efforts towards gender equality and women empowerment. To achieve our mandate, we focus on 4 main thematic: women political empowerment, women economic empowerment, elimination of violence against women, and women engagement in crisis prevention, response, and recovery. Now, in terms of women economic empowerment, the topic which is directly linked to the workshop today, one of our key priorities is to address the gender gap in access to productive assets, be land, technology, market, finance, or time. And because finance is such a big issue, we ended up trying to look at how can we be a smart catalyst when it comes to addressing the gender gap in finance. And we increasingly got convinced that innovative and digital finance could enable us to dramatically change the game for women farmers, for women entrepreneurs. Why digital finance? We believe that digital finance can at least provide 4 new types of services. The first one is that with big data and artificial intelligence system, we can now relatively easily incorporate environment, social, and governance standards into investment decision making. And that's the reason why UN Women was extremely proud to be associated with ICRAF and with the government of Indonesia and, of course, UNEP in launching the Tropical Landscape Facility. And our objective was to try to provide some technical assistance to make sure that the projects supported by this facility are not only green, but they are also socially inclusive. That means that they provide a triple development dividends in terms of finance, in terms of environmental sustainability, and gender equality. We are also working we are also trying to leverage artificial intelligence and big data to try to change the way financial institutions assess credit risk, etc. So that's the first element where we believe that sustainable digital finance has a huge potential. A second element is new business model. And here again, if we look at what is being done in India and in Indonesia, we are speaking about a new business model for decentralized renewable energy technologies and for sustainable farming system. And this business model leverage mobile banking, leverage Internet of Things, and leverage artificial intelligence. We are trying to leverage all these technologies by creating an ecosystem of mobile applications to address the gender gap in agriculture. We believe that with a mobile banking system, we can enable women farmers to have an idea about the overall area they farm, to be able to have an idea about how much they are willing to sell. we can help them in getting a forward contract from the buyers and use this forward contract as a collateral to get access to finance and increase their productivity. Because of the increase in yield, because of the reduction in post-harvest losses, and because of the better take-off price, we can actually double the income of a woman farmer in 1 year. And here again, we are being associated with a number of UN agencies in this effort. We also believe that with innovative and digital finance, we can come with new sources of finance. And UN Women with UNCDF is right now working on a new instrument called Unit Life. And the idea of Unit Life is basically to try to get some micro grants from everybody when you go to pay for something during the e-payment, to try to address chronic malnutrition, and notably through addressing the gender gap in agriculture. And we believe that with digital finance, we have an entire new world of opportunities for citizen engagement. For example, it's possible with digital finance to try to assess what will be the impact of our purchasing behavior of what we buy on the carbon footprint of everybody. And that we can start providing this information to every single citizen, and therefore change your behaviors. And we can associate with this information some incentives for people to, for example, go for one type of purchase versus another one. One good example is Ant Forest. Ant Forest is an application that was launched by Alibaba Pay, which is now called Ant Finance, if my memory is correct, in August 2016. And now they have more than 300 users. And every time one of these consumers buys something which is environmentally responsible, for example, an efficient light bulb rather than an LED rather than an incandescent light bulb, they get some point, and these points are being used to plant trees. And so I strongly believe that we are at the beginning of a brave new world. And if we can create the type of alliances needed, we can truly leverage innovative and digital finance to align finance with sustainable development and break trends, not only for gender equality, but for all of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yannick. I think the power of the people manifested through digital networks, and if you can leverage that in a credible and in a successful and an inclusive way, we can really transform the world. And that's what is waiting to happen to sustainable landscapes, because that can really change things. With that, let me invite somebody who has been at the crossroads of both finance and environment and of course the green economy. Pavan Sukhdev, who has in his past life been a professional banker at the highest levels, and now an environmental champion at the front lines of both advocacy and ideas. Let me invite Pavan Sukhdev, the President of the Board of WWF International. Pavan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Satya. Distinguished leaders on the panel, friends, ladies and gentlemen. First, a few words about the organization WWF and why, for us, the idea of sustainable landscapes is heart and center of our mission. WWF is, I think, the nearest way I can describe it to you is kind of a United Nations of NGOs with a common mission. We have 34 independent national organizations, 50 different project offices, altogether 85. We have got 5.4 million supporters around the world, 7,000 staff. So as those of you who work with the United Nations are familiar, achieving consensus is quite an art form in a situation like this. Thankfully, we have a common mission, which has always been to build a future in which humans can live in harmony with nature. And I think From that mission comes our desire to work with nature, and work with farmers, and work with landscapes. But that is easier said than done, because independent organizations can make independent strategic decisions. So therefore, my predecessors and the team created 9 knowledge groups, and one of those knowledge groups is food. And just to give you a sense of why this is significant, I think some of the other knowledge groups that we have is climate. We call them practice groups. Another one is forest, another one is wildlife. So we consider food to be extremely central to the challenge that we are trying to address, which is the challenge of humans living in harmony with nature. I would like to convince you of why this is important, not just for us, but indeed for achieving all of the Sustainable Development Goals. I personally believe that food systems and how we handle them, and landscapes and how we manage them to deliver the food that we eat, are probably the single most important driver of sustainability across all of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They are pervasive, they are impactful, and they are opportune. Because when we say food systems, firstly, what I mean and what we mean is actually eco-agri-food systems. This is the forest that gets destroyed in order to be able to made into a field to feed the cows or to feed the crops which we will eat. This is also the process of farming, together with its huge employments and its emissions. Few people realize that farming actually is the largest employer by far, by an order of magnitude. In other words, 10 times bigger than the next largest. 1.3 billion people around the world are employed largely as farmers. Out of those, 1 billion people are smallholder farmers, which means farms less than 2 hectares. They operate out of 525 million farms around the world. When it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, when we talk about agriculture, we are not seeing the full picture. When we talk about eco-agri-food systems, looking the whole of the food system, including the production of food on the farm, the emissions, including the manufacturing, including the processing, and the waste, which on its own, food waste is the 3rd largest emitter if it were a country. If we look at food systems like that, then in fact they account for between 43 and 57% of total greenhouse gas emissions. In other words, the single largest contribution to the greenhouse gas challenge that we face today. If we think in terms of gender, and my colleague here has highlighted these issues, 60 to 70% of the farmers in sub-Saharan Africa actually are women. When we talk about equality, the SDG, we cannot do that without looking at farming. So, in a nutshell, whether it is climate, SDG 13, or whether it is the poverty, SDG 1, or whether it is food, hunger, SDG 2. Indeed, even if we look at something not directly obvious like health, SDG 3, it has now been found that our diets are the #1 driver, the #1 cost of health. We are here talking about diseases which are lifestyle diseases, which are driven by the kind of food we eat and the marketing and advertising that drives that, including common problems such as obesity and diabetes, and less common problems but very dangerous ones such as endocrine disruption and indeed antibiotic resistance. These are all associated with food systems. So we can't solve SDG 3 without addressing food systems either. I feel that one of the biggest opportunities on the flip side is if we get smallholder farming right. I feel this because not only if we can address the livelihoods of 1 billion people, if we can address their opportunity to craft a better life, we will have addressed numerous problems simultaneously. Not only is it a question of addressing SDGs 1, poverty, and 2, hunger, we would have created the opportunity for them to lead more fulfilling lives. And at the same time, having addressed gender equality issues, SDGs, to do with the climate side as well, because the type of farming they engage in. But what can policymakers do? And I feel that policymaking in the developing world truly needs to focus on 3 particular aspects of the smallholder farm. About its yield, trying to increase the yield in a sustainable manner. about its risks, and part of the risks are the health risks of farming in an unsustainable manner, which directly affect the farmers, but part of the health risks are also to do with soil health and indeed the health of those who eat the food that is grown there. So addressing the lower risks and also addressing the climate risks which directly impact the success of farming. And lastly, the importance of fairer prices. So today's smallholder farmer, so important for our livelihoods, they grow more than half the food that we eat, and yet so neglected in terms of policy driver, I believe needs to be focused on in terms of sustainable and higher yield. Number 2, lower risks, and number 3, fairer prices. If I were to identify projects that actually do achieve that, frankly, and I'm not saying this because Chandrababu Naidu is here, but because I really do believe it, and because Vijay Kumar is here, who has done such an outstanding job with his colleagues on the ground, or because Satya is here, who is a friend and with the United Nations now and has done so well, or because Eric, who has been supporting this project. I'm saying this because if we look at the statistics, it is outstanding. Smallholder farming in Andhra Pradesh, being done through the ZBNF, the Zero Budget Natural Farming Initiative, has actually been working in exactly that direction. And that is why I'm so pleased to be sharing the podium with all of you who are involved in this. You have managed to demonstrate over several years that the yields are higher, no matter whether it is the 8 kinds of rice varieties you grow, or the chilies, or the red gram, or the black gram. You have achieved higher yields, whilst also constraining the costs, and therefore higher returns as well, not just higher yields, but higher returns for the farmer. You have been able to lower the risk, and I hear this when I visit your farms there. I hear the story of health, how they tell me in their language that, no, sir, our health is better, the soil's health is better, and when you eat our food, your health will be better. So that has been achieved as well. The risks have been lowered. I think fairer prices is the one area where I would like us as financiers to be able to help them. Because at the end of the day, that is about certification, that is about markets, and that is about financing. So I'm very pleased to have our friends from BNP Paribas here with us in today. And we hope that through this kind of partnership, which Eric referred to, we will be able to take, with the support of all of you, these initiatives like ZBNF and others who are following in their footsteps to the next level. I believe this is an idea whose time has come. I believe we are the people to make it happen, and I'm truly honored to be in this group here to support you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavan. Thank you for being a fantastic supporter of the cause, and also thank you for being someone who's been at the forefront of this move towards sustainable finance. Pavan kindly supports us pro bono for a long time on the steering committees of the Tropical Landscape Finance Facility, that of the Sustainable India Finance Facility, and many more things that I've had the privilege of working with him for almost a decade now. And so thank you so much for not just for the support of WWF International as the world's leading activist non-governmental organization supporting the cause, but also yourself as a person and as someone who's a champion for the cause. Thank you, Pavan. With that, let me invite the Under Secretary General and Executive Secretary for the Economic Commission for Europe, Olga Algairova, to offer her remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really honored to have opportunity to address this excellent discussion accompanied by brilliant environmental personalities. So thank you once again, and I believe that it's really thanks to partnerships, as Eric mentioned today. My role here today is to tell you what UNEC can do for financing sustainable landscapes, or what we are doing today. UNEC is one of the 5 regional UN commissions. We are the smallest one, in fact. We are just 188 people, but how we work is we network 8,000 experts from our member states who produce standards and norms and guidelines and exchange the best practices. So our region, we cover 56 member states. This is the European Union, the Balkans, the former Soviet Union, and the United States, Canada, Turkey, Israel, Switzerland. So quite diverse region, also on environmental issues. As mentioned, typical normative organization, and we do a lot for sustainable development. Let me restrict myself today on two elements, and that's forests and water. Speaking on forests, in my opinion, the market mechanism don't always address or allocate resources for where needed. Concretely what I'm speaking about is the value of environmental services provided by forests and also other natural capital. I'm sure we all would agree that there is a great value of sitting in the shade of a tree. But adding more to that is forests are protecting us from landslides, from floods, from avalanches, and of course they contribute fantastically to cleaner air, cleaner water and climate. Let me give you some numbers. Recent research assesses the value of environmental benefits by forests at $16.2 trillion per year and wetlands services at 26.4 trillion per year. Still, critical financing is missing and opportunities are missed. Innovative mechanisms such as payment for forest ecosystem services can raise resources for the preservation of natural capital and address these market failures. This payment scheme provides an incentive structure. For instance, the user of an environmental service such as water purification pays the landowner who provides that service, giving him a very concrete reason to preserve the ecosystem. UNEC has always been developing recommendations and assessing the scope and conditions for such schemes. First, we have found that water-related payment for forest ecosystem services that are based on a partnership model again are more successful in accessing multiple sources of funding, increasing organizational resilience to changing political support, and ensuring that forest owners and managers engage over the long term. And second, we also found that we can make these schemes more cost effective if we focus on ecosystem service bundling, recognizing that forests are a single ecosystem that provides multiple related services that can be combined in a single credit. Moreover, such schemes can provide important co-benefits such as carbon mitigation, biodiversity conservation, and social benefits. We have a publication that will be coming in the near future titled Forests and Water, Valuations and Payments for Ecosystem Services. I hope you can keep your eye for that. It will contain recommendations for how to deploy such payment schemes effectively, including the sources, both national and international, are primarily targeted to national and local projects. To all investors out there, the market opportunities are far from trivial. The Business and Sustainable Development Commission has estimated that forest ecosystem services could be worth up to $365 billion annually by 2030. So let us move to water. UNEC hosts the Convention on the Protection and Use of Transboundary Watercourses and International Lakes, or short Water Convention. Over 40% of the global population lives within transboundary basins, and aquifers, making the successful management of these resources essential to long-term poverty reduction, sustainable development of the environment, and in many cases, longer-term political stability. Many of those basins are very vulnerable to climate change. By the way, the Water Convention became global now because we have recent accession of Chad and Senegal, so it's not anymore just regional convention. According to estimates by the World Bank, investments in water infrastructure need to triple to $114 billion per year to meet SDG targets 6.1 and 6.2. For such big investments to be sustainable and viable, they need to take into account the transboundary context. Therefore, there should be developed in cooperation between riparian countries. But many countries face difficulties in financing such transboundary cooperation because of lack of sustainable funding models and because the benefits are not always known. Moreover, many funding sources, both national and international, are primarily targeted to national or local projects. First, if we want bankable projects that will be attractive to public and private investors, we need to understand and manage the special risks and complexities of transboundary river basin projects, such as the involvement of multiple countries, legal responsibility, and mandate for implementation, and the challenges of sharing upstream and downstream benefits and commitments. At the same time, the transboundary context offers risk mitigation tools that are not available in single country projects, especially when the national river basin organizations are in place. These tools include cooperation agreements, risk sharing, and additional resource leveraging potential. The transboundary context also complicates blended public-private financing models. Specific guarantees were traditionally only designed for national contexts, but are now also offered by World Bank and IFIs for the transboundary context and need to be tested. I already mentioned UNEC's Water Convention that can help to create an enabling environment for investments. This Water Convention can increase sustainability of cooperation projects and reduce investment risks thanks to the legally binding long-term commitments made by countries and its continuous support for cooperation. Convention supports countries and basins in raising funds for transboundary basin development. In fact, we are organizing a global high-level workshop on precisely this topic with the World Bank, EIB, ADB, GEF, and others on 9th of October this year in Astana, back-to-back with the 8th session of the meeting of parties of this convention. I am pleased to report that this support is available to all member states. As I mentioned, this convention was offered to be global a few years ago, and we have these recent African accessions. Ladies and gentlemen, in the UNEC region, there is a very high need to invest in repairing, maintaining, and upgrading old water and sanitation infrastructures. This, again, represents a financing challenge, but it is also a development opportunity. Considering also the interlinkages between the water, energy, and food and ecosystems, it is important to plan resource use in an integrated manner. We at UNEC, we are proud to serve as a platform that brings together different stakeholders. I'm coming back to partnerships, to identify opportunities for all parties affected by the water, energy, food, ecosystems nexus, and this identification and the mobilization of the political will to unlock these opportunities are the necessary first step to raise financing. I hope I was able to tell you about how the UN, and namely UNEC, can address the challenge of financing sustainable landscapes, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Olga. I think what you mentioned is very important because it very much outlines and highlights that the challenges are no different in any part of the world. Their complexities may be a little different from one part to the other, but in every part of the world we need to find sustainable finance to make the climate equation tick and work for everybody. With that, I have the pleasure of inviting His Excellency Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, to offer his remarks. Mr. Naidu, the floor is yours.
His Excellencies on the dais and friends. తెలుగు వారందరి తరపున భారతీయుల తరపున ఈరోజు ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి చేసిన మీ అందరికీ మనస్ఫూర్తిగా నమస్కారాలు. ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ నేడు ప్రకృతి వ్యవసాయానికి కేంద్రంగా మారింది. ఇది ప్రపంచానికి ఒక ఆదర్శం. 2 minutes I am able to speak in my mother tongue. This is the rarest occasion for me to address this type of subject. People on the dais, everybody is working towards natural farming. As a matter of fact, we are able to produce results now. Just now Satya has rightly mentioned, all over the world, in IT, India is very strong. Out of 4 IT professionals, 1 is Indian. Among Indians, out of 4, 1 is from our state. If you see today, either Google CEO or Microsoft, they are all Indians. Now I am taking a subject. I promoted technology in a big way for the last 2 decades. Now I am promoting technology and nature together. It will do wonders. That is where we are going for natural farming. I want to explain today India's first natural farming state, 6 million farmers, 8 million hectares, 50 million citizens. A system-wide scale role model for the global community, for world itself. If you see here in my state, it contributes 28% to the state GSDP from agriculture. 62% of population depends on agriculture and related activities. As our people, as our friends have rightly mentioned, with green revolution, Andhra Pradesh has become rice bowl of India. 8 million hectares cropped area, diversified cropping systems, second longest coastline, 974 square kilometers, India's largest producer of fruits, eggs, aquaculture products. As on today, horticulture, we are able to cultivate nearly 1.7 million hectares. If you see here, it is the scenario all over the world. Agriculture, the vicious cycle, high cost, risks in production and marketing, food insecurity, rural, from there migration to the urban areas, ecosystem degradation in a big way, climate impacts. Because of that, there are floods, there are droughts. Even recently in Kerala, in India, there are huge flood. So much of damage. This is the overall scenario as on today. For all these things, answer is very clear. We are able to convince now all international agencies also, zero budget natural farming. This is regenerative agriculture. It is one way farmers' welfare, reduced cost and risks, increased yields, regular income, climate change resilience. If you see freedom from hunger, more food, safe food, and nutritious food. As on today, we are all eating either chemical fertilizers or pesticides. That is what we are all eating today. As our friends has rightly mentioned, beautiful advertisements. We are all tempted, and also very good recipe by chefs. So we are all eating all, I can say, contaminated or chemical fertilizers. Now, because of zero budget natural farming, reverse migration. Even you may not believe, IT professionals are coming for agriculture today. Now they are enjoying the work and also they are earning more money. That is a reverse migration as already started. Environment side, enhanced soil health, water conservation, regeneration coastal ecosystem, biodiversity. As on today, if you see, land is giving everything for us. Mother is giving birth. Motherland is giving everything, either food, water, air, quality of air, everything. Now we are polluting everything. Even soil is totally eroded and also soil health is suffering. So that we are getting not a good food at all. Here, very simple principles if you see, ZBNF core principles. Living soil concept. Now, soil is alive. It is ill health. You are spoiling the health of the soil. Then naturally what food we are going to get? Same quality of food we are getting. For this what we are giving principles here, microbial seed coating through cow urine and dung based formulations. It is very cost effective. Even compared to organic culture, this concept of natural farming, it is very cost effective. Bio inoculant to stimulate soil microbiome, cover crops, mulching with crops and crop residues, soil aeration and water vapor harvesting, zero chemicals, no synthetic fertilizer or pesticides. I am very happy. If you can go all these things, then you are having a quality food. If you see here the scaling, even the concept is very good. Under the same time, if you produce outcomes, then only it is a reality. Now we are moving in that direction. To change a farmer, whole village approach we have taken up. To change a farmer systematically, it will take 3 years. First time is not believing. He is starting 1/3 or 1/4 of his land. Second year is convinced. Then he will go 50%, 60%. 3 years, all his land is converting. As our friends has rightly mentioned, now people are saying, my health has been improved. I am very happy. I am serving the community. And also my land is improved. My soil health is excellent. That is the concept now it is picking up. First year we are having 15% target. Second year 50% target. Third year 80% target. Within 5 years time, 100% we are going to implement it. That means total state will be ZBNF farming. That is where we are working. I am confident we will achieve the results. If you see here, state government commitment and ownership. We are having women self-help groups. I am very happy some of our friends have referred it. 20 years back we have started self-help groups. We are having 9 lakh groups, roughly 1 million. 9 million women are working. They are highly motivated. They are taking this program in a big way. They are doing wonderful work. The real farmers are becoming champion farmers. This is CRPS, This is the concept we are working. They are working to transform totally. They are going outside the village. Even sometimes they don't know the language. They are going outside the state. They are talking, they are convincing farmers. It is very elaborate exercise. Our people are highly motivated. They will cultivate, they will show others, and also they will stay in the village for 10 days, 15 days, 1 month or 2 months until other side farmer is convinced. That is how this movement has taken up. Knowledge and training, we are having knowledge. That knowledge has to take to the last mile and produce results. Collective action for inputs. This is Uberization we are taking up, so that in a village, as a festive atmosphere, they are supplying inputs and they are sharing, they are working in a big way. Here we are going, knowledge how to take to the last mile, and also every product traceability. Tomorrow what you are eating, you can know the history of that food. Suppose you are eating one apple or one orange, which land it has come, what is the ingredients, what is the soil properties, what is the pesticides, no fertilizer, it is tested. That is the biggest advantage we are having. And also tracking, we can track. We are very strong in information technology. We wanted to use information technology in a big way. Nowadays, we are all watching. Totally IoT devices have come. In my state, groundwater, you can measure real time. Surface water, you can measure real time. Even cyclone prediction, you can know real time, tracking, movements, everything. Ultimately, street lights, I can monitor from New York to remote village, that light is off or on. That is how we are going real-time governance. As on today, that is the approach. Future, I am telling you, we are number one in ease of doing business. I wanted to be distant number one. And also, we are going ease of living. Everything will be online. No need to go to any office. Then we can control total corruption. We are going most livable standards. Quality water, quality of food, quality of air, quality of health. Like that we are going. And ultimately, our aim is to have quality life with happiness. Happiness is very, very important for all of us. Human life should be meaningful. For that, ZBNF is very, very important. If you see here in ZBNF, our achievements. 2016 we started, 40,000 farmers. 2017, it has become 163,000 farmers. 2018, now we are having 500,000 farmers, 500,000 acres of land. 2020, 1.7 million farmers. 2022, 4.1 million farmers. 2024, all 6 million farmers will be ZBNF farmers. Then it will be a model for the global community to emulate, to follow Andhra Pradesh. I am confident before that you all realize, then you will come back to us. We'll work with you to make global community to provide safe food. Here, I am very happy. 20 years experience women groups are working. They are taking up this momentum. So many partners are here. I need your collaborations, either finance, sustainability models, philanthropy, knowledge sharing, and also marketing. I am providing one of the best products, but I need marketing. There are some people here. You have to help me. There are some organizations, food processing organizations, food chains. They have to come forward. This is a natural food we are giving, no pesticide, no fertilizer. Even we are going to do certification and everything, but only people, like-minded people, all of us